What if the 3 secrets of Fatima were never meant to be a code for predicting the end of the world? For more than a century, Fatima has been surrounded by rumors, dramatic warnings, and claims that the Catholic Church concealed the most important part of the story. Yet the official record reveals something different. The children did not receive 3 separate secrets on 3 different days. They received one secret, presented in 3 connected parts, during a single apparition on July 13, 1917. And the detail most people overlook is not a hidden date or an unnamed disaster. It is the reason the vision was given at all. By the end of this video, you will understand what the 3 parts contained, why the 3rd remained unpublished for decades, and why Sister Lucia said its images should not be treated as a fixed preview of an unavoidable future. If you appreciate carefully researched Catholic mysteries without exaggeration, subscribe, and let us return to what the historical documents say. The story begins in central Portugal during the First World War. Lucia dos Santos was 10 years old. Her cousins, Francisco and Jacinta Marto, were nearly 9 and 7. On May 13, 1917, the 3 shepherds were tending sheep at the Cova de Iria, near Fatima, when they reported seeing a lady more brilliant than the sun. According to their testimony, she asked them to return on the 13th day of each month for 6 months and to pray the rosary every day for peace. Crowds grew, and the children were questioned by relatives, clergy, officials, believers, and skeptics. In August, local authorities detained them, so the expected meeting did not occur on August 13. They later reported the 4th apparition at Valinhos on August 19. The popular version can sound like a perfectly smooth sequence, but the historical record is more complicated. The children faced pressure and disbelief, yet continued telling the same central story. On October 13, a vast crowd gathered in heavy rain at the Cova de Iria. Witnesses, including journalists, described an extraordinary solar phenomenon that became known as the miracle of the sun. Some said the sun appeared to tremble, change color, or move across the sky. Not every witness described it identically, and the Church does not present those reports as a scientific experiment. After a canonical investigation, however, the Bishop of Leiria declared in 1930 that the children's reported visions were worthy of belief. But the most famous mystery had begun 3 months earlier. On July 13, the children said they received the secret of Fatima. It was not 3 unrelated predictions. It was one vision arranged like a triptych, with each part leading into the next. The first part was a brief and frightening vision of hell. Sister Lucia later said it lasted only an instant. Its purpose was not to satisfy curiosity with terrifying imagery. It confronted the children with the seriousness of sin and the possibility of eternal separation from God. This is the first great misunderstanding. The vision was not a prediction that a particular group would be condemned, and it was not permission for Catholics to decide anyone's eternal fate. It was a call to prayer, conversion, and concern for souls. The children responded by praying more intensely. Francisco became devoted to quiet prayer, while Jacinta focused on praying for others. Pope Francis canonized them at Fatima on May 13, 2017. The first part therefore ends not in despair, but in responsibility. It asks what love should do when another person is in spiritual danger. That leads directly to the second part. The children reported that Mary spoke of devotion to her Immaculate Heart, prayer for peace, and conversion. The First World War would end, the message said, but another and worse war would follow if humanity refused to turn away from sin. The account also referred to Russia, warning that its errors would spread and bring conflict and persecution. Mary would later ask for the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. This part is often reduced to a secret geopolitical forecast, but that misses its spiritual center. Fatima did not teach that prayer is a magical method for controlling nations. It connected peace in the world with conversion in the human heart. Hatred, injustice, and violence begin in human choices, grow through institutions, and eventually shape history. Sister Lucia wrote the first two parts in her memoirs in 1941, more than 2 decades after the apparitions. The official documentation clearly states when the account was written and why. She did so under the direction of the Bishop of Leiria. Decades later, debate centered on whether the requested consecration had been completed. On March 25, 1984, Pope John Paul II, in spiritual union with bishops throughout the world, entrusted humanity and all peoples to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. In a 1989 letter, Sister Lucia confirmed that this act corresponded to the request. The second part, then, is not a puzzle without an answer. Its lasting challenge is closer to home: prayer without conversion is empty, and peace among nations cannot be separated from truth, justice, and human dignity. But the greatest speculation gathered around the third part. In January of 1944, at the direction of her bishop, Sister Lucia wrote the final portion and placed it in a sealed envelope. She indicated that it could be opened after 1960. Many people later assumed that the year 1960 had been commanded by Mary or marked the date of an approaching catastrophe. Sister Lucia corrected that assumption. She said the date was her own decision, based on her intuition that the text would be better understood by then. It was not a deadline from heaven. The third part described a symbolic vision. An angel called the world to penance. A bishop dressed in white, understood by the children as the Pope, moved with other members of the Church through a devastated city and toward a large cross. The journey ended in persecution and death, followed by an image of the martyrs being received by God. The scene was solemn, but it named no future pope, country, or date. Pope John XXIII read the text in 1959 and chose not to publish it. Pope Paul VI later read it as well. After the attempt on his life on May 13, 1981, Pope John Paul II saw his own suffering reflected in the vision and credited Mary's protection with his survival. In 2000, he authorized publication of the third part. Vatican representatives met Sister Lucia before its release. She identified the handwriting as her own and agreed that the vision concerned the 20th century struggle against atheistic communism, the persecution of Christians, and the suffering of the Pope and the Church. Yet the official theological commentary made an essential distinction. A prophetic vision is not a security camera recording of one future event. It uses symbols to gather many realities into a single scene. The bishop in white could illuminate the experience of John Paul II without being limited to him alone. It could also represent other popes and countless believers across a violent century. Most importantly, the future shown was not unchangeably fixed. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who later became Pope Benedict XVI, explained that the vision was meant to move human freedom in a better direction. Its central word was not catastrophe. It was penance, meaning conversion. This is the third and most important misunderstanding. Fatima is often treated as if its value depends on another undisclosed page, one secret date, or a final disaster waiting behind the curtain. The Church's published record says otherwise. Sister Lucia authenticated the manuscript and said that interpretation belonged to the Church, not to the visionary alone. She also emphasized that the apparitions were meant to help people grow in faith, hope, and love. Catholics therefore do not have to accept every rumor attached to Fatima. The Church classifies Fatima as an approved private revelation. Private revelation does not add to the Gospel, complete the Bible, or create an obligation equal to Christian faith. Its value is measured by whether it leads people back to Christ and helps them live the Gospel more faithfully. That is why the real payoff of the three secrets differs from the sensational version. The first part warns that our choices have eternal meaning. The second connects prayer and conversion with peace. The third shows a suffering church walking through history beneath the cross, while insisting that evil does not have the final word. Together they deliver one message: do not surrender to fear, do not treat the future as fate, and do not wait for a hidden date before changing your life. Pray. Repent. Seek peace. Remain faithful to Christ. That is what really happened at Fatima, and that is what many Catholics misunderstand. Which part surprised you most, the first vision, the message about Russia and peace, or the true meaning of the third secret? Write 1, 2, or 3 in the comments. If this video helped you separate the documented Fatima message from later speculation, press like so more viewers can find the historical story. Share it with someone who has heard dramatic claims about the three secrets but has never seen what the Church published. And subscribe for more carefully researched Catholic saints, Catholic miracles, and lives of the saints. God bless you and welcome home. But there is another Catholic story in which a small, quiet life became surrounded by extraordinary claims. Therese of Lisieux entered a Carmelite convent as a teenager, lived behind its walls for less than a decade, and died almost unknown beyond a narrow circle. Yet within a generation, reports of favors attributed to her intercession arrived from around the world, and her simple, little way, transformed Catholic spirituality. In the next video, we will examine 3 lesser-known stories connected with Saint Therese, what the records support, and why the Church eventually named this hidden young nun a doctor of the Church. Her greatest miracle may not be the one most people expect.